you're ready. I did have one of my former students stop by after class and mention to me something that I thought was pretty good. I used the word creed a lot last time, and I said, please check your creed at the door. Creed is a very churchy word, and he had taken me in world religions, and he says, in world religions, you didn't use the word creed, you used the word bias, and maybe that would be easier for folks to understand, so I appreciate that. Just a reminder that often we carry with us a bias that does not allow us to see some things. And all I want in this class is for you to acknowledge that bias and try to leave the bias outside the door so you have the widest possible vision of what's coming at you as we, as scholars, are looking at the New Testament. So, quickly, a wonderful little Tibetan tale that many of you already heard, but it's helpful. There once, this is a Tibetan Buddhist story, there once was a frog who lived in a well. The frog grew up in this well and was very happy, had a great little froggy life in the well, had a little froggy family. Life was great for this frog in this well. The frog had never been outside of the well. That's just where the frog lived. All was good. Until one day, another frog from outside the well comes hopping into his well. And she sees this frog and says, "Hi." And that frog, who lives in the well, said, "Hi, I've never seen you before. Where are you from?" And she says, "I'm from the Great Sea." And the frog inside the well says, "The Great Sea? When you say great, do you mean it's big, like maybe it would be like a quarter the size of my well?" And she laughs and says, "Oh, no, the Great Sea is much bigger than that." And the frog from the well gets a little troubled and says, "You mean like half the size of my well?" And she laughs again and says, "It's bigger than that." Now the frog in the well is getting nervous. "You mean the Great Sea would be as big as my well?" And she laughs and says, "The Great Sea is much bigger than this well." And he says, "That's impossible." She says, "Well, if you don't believe me, why don't you come see with your own froggy eyes?" So the frog from the well thinks about that for a little bit. He says, "Okay." So the frog from the sea hops out of the well, and for the first time in his life, the well frog hops out of his well and follows the sea frog all the way to the Great Sea. And when the well frog gets to the Great Sea and looks and sees it, his head explodes. End of story. Good Tibetan parable. Here's a couple things to think about. Sometimes when our wells, when we've never been outside our wells, and they're only that big, we think it is impossible, and this is what the frog says, we think it's impossible for anything but our worldview to be the worldview. And that's a very dangerous place to be. We get into this mindset that says, my well is everybody's well, and that frankly just isn't true. So we say, it's impossible. Anything more than we know is impossible, and that's really poor scholarly attitudes. We need to be the kind of people willing to risk getting outside our well, and that's kind of what we need to do. I am the Great Sea Frog, and I am saying to you, all you frogs, come on, come with me. Let's go look at the New Testament. I've got a whole great world of stuff to show you, and it'll be a little scary at first, and in fact, occasionally your head might explode. But that's okay. That's part of the process of being good scholars, is to get outside your well and see some new things. Now, I will go back and say, you don't have to believe or agree with anything I say about the Great Sea, that is the New Testament. But I want you to look, and then you can decide what to do with it. Got it? So that's the bias. I want you to get outside your well. I want you to leave your creed, your bias at the door, so you're willing to be great adventurers in this new, wonderful adventure of finding out about the New Testament. Got it?